as voters stand up to vote, but their names were not in the register. There's a particular village that is a Chitara village, where voters up to now are still lining up, and the Electoral Commission officials are still reading names out to ensure that those who are eligible to vote access the polling stations. There's also another village called Naboga. As you come this side of Garuga, voting has also not yet taken place because the security has been deployed to ensure that peace is maintained and also voters start voting. So far, I'll tell you, in most of the areas in Entebbe Municipality and Busiro South, voting has been concluded, and many of the candidates who have won are now jubilating, while others that have lost are not contented, especially here where we are. One of the candidates who stood as an independent, he's saying that all the electoral laws were not followed, and he's saying people were campaigning on the voting day. There was no voter sensitization, and he was also saying that many people who were in the voter register were not allowed to vote. I don't know whether I can access him where he is standing right now. He's right here with me. He's one of the candidates who have been in this race. Earlier I spoke to you and you said you're not contented with what has come out of this exercise. Why?
The problem is with the Electoral Commission, not the candidates. The Electoral Commission, I said, did not follow any election law. After reading the register and issuing the coupons, there was an exercise of voter education.
We apologize for that. We lost that link, but we'll try to get back to Herbert Siwa in Entebbe to give us more details on what's happening there. But back to you, and I was wondering, are we ready for eventualities? Looking at what's already happening out there on the street, you're seeing the people at the railway, they have vuvuzelas out, they've already started drinking and they're waiting, they've not yet voted. Of course, there's going to be an outcome to all of this.
Absolutely. I think as a nation, this can only be lessons to learn. And I think also, having spent 17 years, this was so forgotten for far too long that we actually lost touch with the dynamics. We did not actually kind of envisage the situation as it's unfolding now. And of course, let's applaud the villages that have successfully conducted these elections. Let's applaud them. That's remarkable. But I think going forward, you know, we were observing this from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Candidates have been in the business of buying booze for the electorate, okay? They've been doing this, so it's no wonder that even up to today, they are still doing what? Doing the same. But also the other thing is that there are Ugandans out there who have received money from candidates. Because like I said earlier, that you see, vote buying, use of money to convince someone to vote for you is very effective in open voting, because then I'm able to see whether you are able to take my money and have the backbone not to vote for me. So some of them that have already taken this money, even when the elections get to delay, they cannot afford to go away, because you see, you are bound, you are held hostage by that 1,000, 2,000 or the booze you accepted to take. So I think as a nation going forward, we need to think and improve on the laws that govern local elections. I know that we have provided for them in the Local Government Act, but I think we need to go down and improve on those provisions to tighten them. I think we need to rethink the amount of time we invest in organizing for these local elections. And of course, you cannot fault the Electoral Commission, because we are talking about 60,800 villages. These are too many polling stations for them to hand at a go and with such narrow budgets. So I think let's also applaud those that have gotten stuck out there. Elections have not yet been conducted, but they're still waiting. If you're doing so because of the passion for your duty, to do your duty as a citizen, that is also laudable. But also would have maybe done it much better. I think we need to reflect. We have to have a serious conversation on this one as a country going forward. Of course, the resources limit us to go down the path of separate ballot. If you want to go down the path of voting, you know, in open,
we have to be ready for.
Then we need to think critically through most of these things.
Okay. Do you think that one of our problems is that we work with individual merit, that we are looking at a candidate as an individual, and therefore we get a lot of these problems coming in?
Yeah, I think you're right, Josephine, because up to today, a lot of Ugandans are still lost in the individual merit thing. That because you won't be surprised that as we saw in the presidential and parliamentary elections, where someone enters and picks a ballot paper, they take President Museveni, and then when they go to MP, they take an FDC candidate, and then they go to the women, they take an independent candidate. So you get to see that the element of multi-partyism has not sunk, is not yet ingrained in the minds of many of us Ugandans. And therefore that still spells work to do for us as citizens, but also maybe it's not so bad, because you see, as a village person, I would be very much interested in ensuring that I vote for that leader whom I think will serve me. I was listening to some of the sound bites from the fellows of Nasa Road. They are saying that, you see, we have seen some people coming from Kisenyi, because you see, for us at Nasa Road, we deal with the printing and paper. The people of Kisenyi deal with the produce. So they cannot understand our situation. So we are better off picking a leader who understands the situation we live in. So I'm happy that they are attaching importance to on those local leaders, but also I think as a country we still have a lot of room to improve.
Okay. One of the things that we were talking about earlier with the guests that I had in the morning, we're talking about if these local council leaders should actually be paid a salary. Do you think that this would help with the work that they do? That would in any way? Interesting
dynamic, Josephine. I think it should be understood out there that, you see, leadership is a service. It is actually wrong, we have perceived it all wrong, that leadership is a form of gainful employment. Whether you are paid a salary or not, you should be able to serve.
Somebody's screaming in the background that they agree with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you see, I was listening to one of the motivation speeches by the former movie star Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was saying that as governor of California, I was earning $100,000 US. But if I had stayed in my movie industry, I would be earning millions. So for me, what I was earning was pocket change. It was petty cash. I did not want it. I left it. I think the time has come again as Ugandans to have a discussion. You see, what kind of leaders do you want to have? Right from Parliament. The quality of Parliament has suffered because of that attitude. People think politics and service, this is a business, and therefore when they get to Parliament, the first thing they do is to review their emoluments and determine what will be paid to them. So I think salary or not so salary, once you choose to go and serve, and let those that are looking for opportunities not come here, because this is a service.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that the role of an LC requires, there are times when he or she needs a bit of facilitation to do some of the work that they do. Well, do you think that at the very least that should be provided for?
Yeah, I think so, because normally an office goes with there are costs that go with the office.
Do they have an office, like an actual office? So
the way it is, I think the family, it's some of them that are depending on the area. Some of them have offices, but others perform business from home. But you see, I think if it's the village, as it were, you may not necessarily need an office, because those are costs of administration that I want to work with. The bit of it is that you can have these fellow villagers with whom you can sit and execute business. Now, it's not every day. It's not an everyday job that you see you must enter an office and serve people every day. That's not what it is. So I think whether you have an office or not, that should not arise for now. The thing is that, are you able to serve your people? I think that's what you should focus on. So whether you need funds to run this, I don't think you do. So I don't think you do need funds to do this, because the village is a small entity. From time immemorial, people that have worked in this leadership have done so out of a service.
Okay.
So I think this shouldn't arise. But yeah, I know they will get a salary. Is this 100,000 per month?
About 100,000. Like yes. Well, do you think it's worth it on the taxpayer? And I'd like you to catch your breath for a second. I'm hoping somebody will bring you a glass of water so you can.
Yeah. You see, the Ugandan taxpayer has been overburdened by the excessive administrative bill. So I think it is another burden, obviously. 100,000, and you have what, 60,800 villages. That's another burden added to the taxpayers, obviously, and already a small resource envelope. So I think what we have to do as taxpayers, but you see, these are the costs of, the costs of democracy.
The price you pay.
There must be a cost you pay as a citizen to make sure that there is public administration that would ensure that services are in place. So I think, 100,000 is something that can be bearable, though when you add the numbers, then it escalates to something else.
Okay. Well, I was listening to one of the, I was actually reading on some of the proposed amendments to the Parliamentary Elections Act that you proposed, yes. And you have things like no candidate should be nominated for an election unless they present bank account details and financial statements. Candidates must submit elections expense returns, cash contribution limits set for individuals, and you're prohibiting campaign contributions by non-citizens. Does any of this play out on this front with the LCs? Yeah,
I should tell the country that the Chinese say that if you want to go where you have never been, ask those that have been there. They'll tell you the way that leads you there. Countries where democracy has advanced have understood one dynamic, that money is the mother's milk of politics. If you remove money from the equation, then politics becomes useless. So because money is so important in politics, it's important that you put in place regulations that would curb its excessive influence. So many of those democracies have put in place legislation that regulate laws that regulate how money plays out in election campaigns. Uganda has nothing. We have 5 electoral laws, and none of those electoral laws has any provision that regulates campaign financing, which is why the cost of campaigning for president is so high. Those that have campaigned for president can tell you, if they can testify. Okay, the cost of contesting for MP, we have MPs that have spent up to 1.5 billion shillings to go into that parliament. The cost of standing for LC5 is also high. Now we have seen now that also LC1, you don't just stand.
Yes.
Because I was speaking to candidates during the campaign period on Friday and Saturday, and they were telling me that, you see, we are trying to go door to door. But when you go door to door and try to sell the ideas, the manifesto you're going to sell,
you have to give
people say, okay, yeah, that looks nice, but what are you leaving behind? So this has to stop.
Yes.
So the legislation we are proposing is that, and we have to start somewhere, because we have 5 electoral laws, okay? So we said maybe it's good to start with the parliament, because that's where we have the numbers. Okay, and when you see in terms of spending, overall spending, the total amount of money that MPs spend is kind of overshadows the one president spend. Last year we had over 2,000 men and women, 2010 kind of men and women who were successfully nominated to contest for MP in the whole country. The totality of what they spent is too high. Now if you start by regulating there, then you would have started somewhere. Plus, you get to pick best practices that you can then replicate to other legislation. So we think we need, most critically, it's important that the country gets to know who, if you are standing as Josephine, who is your source of campaign financing? Because we have seen businesses that invest money in these MPs.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's talk at the local council level now.
Now, at the local council level, I was amazed when I learned that some of the candidates that were spending big, and they're spending on things such as getting border riders on a petrol station to fuel, 2 liters, 3 liters each, and 70 borders are packed. This is the stuff we saw in parliament and presidential. It was replicated at the local level. So many of them have gone to those people that have personal private interests, such as land brokers, estate agents, okay, and others are land grabbers. They have bankrolled these village leaders.
Yes.
Now the danger in that is that if I am a village candidate and Josephine is a land estate agent, and she has bankrolled me to do what I've done, such as hiring the trucks on where I have mounted a very powerful public address system, and people jumping, dancing Kadodi and so on, the booze you have drunk, the food you have eaten, and the 10,000 you have taken, 5,000. When I go through, she will come and say, okay, now, that plot, this plot, and so on. So payback. So you are going to see cases of land grabbing increasing. But also, let us also say something about this.
But very, very.
But you see, the law now has conferred upon LCs the powers to kind of arbitrate certain cases. So they have some limited judicial powers. So how are you going to get justice from this leader whose paymaster is different? It's not you. That paymaster is the one that has bankrolled that candidate to do what you've seen. So that paymaster, that leader is going to do exactly as he or she is told by that paymaster. So he's taken him away, snatched that leader away from your face, and you have nothing.
You have no leader, actually.
No leader.
So my final question to you, as we close this interview, is these fees that LCs charge, they've come up over and over again. Shouldn't there be something in place, a system of sort, that I know that if I need a letter, it is written in, it is cast in stone that it is going to be 2,000 shillings if I must pay, or 5,000, whatever, so that it is not up to the LC to decide, you know, 10,000.
Interesting point, because the LC leader, as it were, would look at you and say, Josephine, 20,000. And then another one comes 5,000. So we need again to have guiding principles. What is the basis for charging? If I am seeking to go to renew my passport, or to have a new passport, what is it that you should charge me? If I'm seeking to obtain a loan from the bank, and the bank requires that the LC certifies that I'm a resident of there, how much are you going to charge me? Is it going to charge on the size of the loan? If I am selling land, what is I think we need to streamline all this, but maybe let's point out as well. I think the country has to understand that just as we train members of parliament when they have just come to parliament, also councillors, so that they are able to know how they are able to execute their business, I think it's important that the country invests seriously in training these local leaders, because so that they get to know how are you going to do your work, what are the do's and the don'ts, and what exactly do we expect from you, and how do you then relate with the LC3, the MP, plus also the technocrats, and how do you make sure that services come to your people? Okay, I think we need to train them somehow to build their capacity to work better. All
right. Well, Henry, our time is fast spent, but just quickly, I'll give you 1 minute to just say something that you'd like us to take from this election.
Absolutely. Like I said before, our elections are quagmired in commercialization. It's time now, as citizens, to go back, reflect, and have a serious conversation on what kind of democracy do we want to have as Uganda. Given the dynamics at play, given what we have seen, do we want to continue with this situation? Are we able to handle this thing after it has turned into a monster? Because believe you me, if it keeps escalating at the level it is escalating now, we are headed into a monstrous situation.
All right, food for thought there. Thank you so much. I've been speaking to the Executive Director of Alliance for Campaigns Finance Monitoring, Mr. Henry Muguzi. He is also a political scientist. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. You're not going to vote, you said, did you?
No, I have not voted because my name was deleted.
Some places are still open. Maybe they've put your name by now. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us, and we wish you a lovely day.
Turning on your world.
Overloaded vehicles are a threat to road safety. It will not only put the driver at risk, but also passengers and other road users. An overloaded vehicle is less stable, difficult to steer, and takes longer to stop, but also can lead to a crash. TWEDECO, every life matters.
This message was brought to you by Viva Energy and NTV Uganda.
We have watched this show begin. We have traveled the entire country in search for commercial farmers.
Cassava is now a cash crop in Teso.
Farmers from across Uganda have benefited from agriculture.
Somebody who is doing fish farming, this is an opportunity, a huge opportunity, in that the market and the demand is already available.
I realized there was potential in goat farming. I started with around 30 goats.
You don't need a lot of money to start, but rather the heart and determination.
Intending farmers is to have a positive attitude and start.
Doesn't need the person to have gone to school or to have not gone to school. Possibly keeping is one of the projects that have money.
You go home, you come back to harvested honey.
And who said there is no market?
Like that fish pond, where it is, I've stocked now 700 fish.
What I've seen in agriculture is that the market for produce is there.
All you need is you to make a difference.
Everywhere you go, people do just about the same things, but we thought if we could just put some spunk into agriculture.
Farming comes in many packages. It takes courage, determination, focus, and above all, the zeal.
I have a passion for animals.
Stop feeling pity for yourself. Don't blame it on anyone. Stand up and do something. Farming is fun. Join us on this program and let's make the world we live in a better place.
You, the viewer outside there, don't you see it is just lively?
At Seeds of Gold every Saturday only on NTV.
With Tuangula with Pepsi Today.
Star Times, the official broadcaster of the FIFA World Cup Russia 2018.
NTV, turning on your world.
NTV omuli gw'emizannyo tubalamusizaako mikwano gyaffe mulabika mukyali mu byalo ebyenjawulo muli mu kulonda abalala mumaliriza abalala temunnatandika naye tubaagaliza okulonda okw'emirembe n'okulonda abantu abagenda okugasa ebitundu byammwe. Nze Lumansi David ndi ne Dennis Bossa ate era ne Daka Bakigongo tugenda okubaganya ebirowoozo ku nsonga eziwerako. Tujja kutunuulira tena ebumbujja mu ggwanga erya Bungereza gye tumanyi nti nno abakyala ate bo tenene bayisizza bubi nnyo naye abaami kiri kitya. Awo tujja kutunulawo ttiimu yaffe ey'abaana abawala tukiikirira mu World Cup qualifiers eza cricket eyo naye tugenda gitunuulirako so nga ne ttiimu yaffe era eya rugby sevens naye tugenda gikubaganyako